Welcome to Nostology. We are your host. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Jessica.
And today we are going to be talking about something really near and dear to my heart personally. We have a very special guest today, Cathi Coridan. And Cathi and I know each other, through networking, but I will tell you personally that she has done some amazing things for me. I think a few times we may have shared the story of my mom and moving her to assisted living, and she has Alzheimer's now. So that's been such a journey. But Cathi has been, I'm going to try not to be emotional, y'all, because it's a hard transition to make and to go through. So Cathi was instrumental in the very beginning. I am so thankful that we met early on, Cathi, because kind of getting through this process of moving my mother from one location to another city into assisted living, getting the right people to assist, was selling her house in that location versus just going in blindly. You connected me with some amazing people. So we are thrilled to have you. And you've got such a story and quite a bio. So I'm going to let you share that, Cathi. So go right ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, both Jessica and Shelley, for inviting me today. I appreciate this opportunity. I have a heart and passion for making sure that our seniors are not just we don't just work with seniors during this life transition, that we serve them, and that it's not just about, for me as a realtor, not just about selling the house or the house transaction or helping them buy a house in some cases. It's about making a life transition during a time of challenge, oftentimes a time of loss and confusion and overwhelm. And so let me tell you a little bit about how I got where I am. And then I have a couple things I want to talk about, and I know that Jess has some questions too. Yeah. So I spent the first 45 years of my career working in human services, nonprofits. I had some government positions, but in behavioral health and human services, my focus was on underserved kids most of the time. Oh, wow. And I did everything from, I was a juvenile probation officer when I got out of college, and then worked my way to, I worked for National Mental Health Association. I worked for some national advocacy programs for underserved kids primarily. And for 5 years, I was the executive director of a child welfare agency, a residential child welfare agency for 90 high-risk adolescent boys. So there just was not a dull moment in those entire 5 years. And it was at a time when there was a lot of change in how child welfare was being approached in the states. And so the contracts were changing. And it gave me an understanding of really difficult transitions, both organizationally and for these kids. And I actually say that I have a perspective on what a crisis is. There's a first responder blood and a weapon. Otherwise, it's a problem that you solve. And that has given me
good point.
Yeah, it's given me a perspective on how we work and what it means to come together and look for some problem solving and planning ahead of time so that you're not cleaning up a mess at the end. I came into real estate. I joke that I was taking my real estate prep courses to take my test for licensing the same week my Medicare card came. And so I am a senior myself, and I've spent the last 8 years really dedicated to helping seniors navigate and helping real estate agents, my colleagues, and other senior serving professionals create a team or a network around the seniors so that this last move of theirs oftentimes can happen with what I call less stress and more success. It's a guided process so that we're able to predict when there might be speed bumps. We're able to work together to help them make a decision, because it can take a couple years. Yeah. To make a plan, to make a decision about where they're going. Is it to live near the kids? Is it to live near a golf course? Is it to live in an assisted living or what's called a continuous care retirement community, where you move in with a moving truck and you move out in a hearse? And that really is designed that way. So there are various levels of readiness. There are various levels of ease with which these last moves are made. There's oftentimes a great deal of ambivalence and resistance about leaving the home, leaving the family home, especially if they've been there for a long time. So it's never boring. It's kind of like running a child welfare agency. And it's the satisfaction that we get for being part of this process and the amount of appreciation that we get for taking the time and listening and helping them make a decision, sometimes the same decision 4 or 5 times, sometimes the same phone call 4 or 5 times to answer the same question, always as if it was the first time, to really take that extra time and care and to allow them to move through it with assurance and peace of mind. So that's what I do now, because even though it's real estate and it's business and it's different than working for a nonprofit or running a nonprofit or supporting a nonprofit as a program director or as a consultant, there's a lot of elements that are the same. And it's moving a process from A to Z and really resourcing it well, planning as much as you can, and that sometimes it's just a cleanup on it. So it's been very similar to what I did previously. So when people said, what are you doing in real estate? The same thing. I just get paid better.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Good point. Well, you know all the right people. You know, I have been a part of some of your networking groups and things, and you have allowed me to speak on reverse mortgages too. I mean, you had a tremendous turnout at that one group that I was involved in. And there's just such amazing people in groups that I didn't even know existed, you know, for this part of transition, you know, life transition stuff. So I don't, you know, what do you have questions?
Well, I do. I guess, I mean, the big thing is, how can our listeners who are maybe helping parents, you know, they're the adult children of seniors, what suggestions do you have for them to help in this process of moving?
I have 3 really good thoughts.
Okay.
The first is to remember that as the adult children that are usually parents of teenagers, if they have kids that are still working full time and keeping their schedules and kind of having to keep all the trains running on time, whatever those trains are in their life, that the thought process and the approach to creating plans and solving problems for their parents is not the same process. And one of the things that I find, and I'm a recovering alpha daughter. And if
my goodness, I can relate.
If I had known this, I really would have approached the process when my dad and my stepmother were going through those last couple of years pretty differently, because I did come in as the one that told everybody what to do. And they joked about it. Okay.
Daughter?
I am the alpha daughter.
Yes. We have a plan now. Kathy's here. And then everybody else goes and does something and leaves me in charge.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yes.
How do we get them involved,
and
Cathi?
There's always an alpha daughter involved, and it's rarely an alpha son unless it's the guys are the only kids. So to just understand that the thinking process, the decision-making process is so different for your parents than it is for you. And we are used to being on a schedule, and we are used to kind of, I call it executive functioning. It doesn't matter if they're an executive. It matters that that's the level of your brain thinking, that you can sort and organize information and make decisions and move things, because that's what people at that level, that stage of life do. The parents don't think that way. And as someone who is moving into that space, I don't think that way as much anymore. I still do, because I'm still working. Yet I understand now in retrospect that what my father saw and what I saw were really different. And I have this great visual that I use when I'm teaching this, that it's these 2 kind of stick men, or the wooden men, kind of, that they would be Gumbies if they had bottom things and come down. But they're these 2 characters, and they're both looking down at either a 6 or a 9, depending upon where they're standing. And that it's that perspective that we need to keep in mind as the adult children, and the way we ask the parents questions to find out what's the thinking and the feeling behind it. There's an author, and his name is David Solie, Solie, and he wrote How to Say It to Seniors.
I have that book.
He wrote it, I think it's 2006, and I don't have it right here. It's what his core piece is, and this is something that I really try to instill with the adult children, because we can get so frustrated. Trust me, I was in that camp, is that folks over the age of 70 to 75, really beginning, are looking at two dynamics in their developmental trajectory. And I do have a master's degree in developmental psychology, which I got 40 years ago, almost 50 years ago. Yet that whole thing in the development, we think of developmental psychology as everything up through 18. And it's not. We still have developmental needs. And it's a conflict between two things: maintaining control as much as we can over what we can, because we can see stuff sliding away, and wanting to have a legacy. And how is it that people are going to remember us, which means that we're letting go a little bit. And it's the grab on and let go that I can look back and see all those places my father was experiencing that. We had several wars over the car. So,
oh boy, I'm still going through that myself.
It isn't that he should have been driving. It's that my yelling at him the same way he yelled at me when I was 16 was not effective at all.
Mm-hmm.
It just upped his, I'm going to show you. And he did twice, passed the state of Ohio senior driving test.
Wow.
My siblings and all of us said we were willing to bet our houses that nobody would let him drive. And this guy passed him.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
I had to pay for the test because I bet him that he wasn't going to have a driver's license when it was done.
Oh.
And so getting into the power struggles that are so easy to do is what we need to avoid in order to come together and help our parents make their plans for their lives, because it is their lives. And for me, the seniors always come first. I've had several situations where something has come up and there were health issues involved, and the kids wanted to stop and my client wanted to move forward, and I had to mediate between them and say to the kids, in a nicer way than this, you're not my client and you're not the one that's making the decision. And to my client, is it worth having your brother and 3 children totally pissed off at us for the next couple of months to do this at this time, even though you and I know we could handle it ourselves? And so the decision was made to go ahead and postpone it, but it was a collaborative decision that was made. And if it had just been between them, I don't know how it would have turned out, but I was able to hear that there was enough, and it was concern coming from the kids, that it was just going to make the transaction horrible. And so we postponed it. And it's meeting the needs of everybody, but making sure that the seniors' needs and their problems and their challenges is what everybody's focused on. And focused on as a guide and support and resource system, not coming in and taking over and getting in power struggles and pushing the process. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing I would say is remember whose life it is.
Yes.
Even if, and Shelley, your mom is a good example of this, even if she's really having a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
I have an aunt in memory care right now, and she was really struggling. The memory care piece fixed it. It really did. And it's a aging and it's a care home rather than a kind of an institutional memory care. It's more like being at somebody's home. Right. And her appearance and functioning are much higher than when we saw her at Christmas.
Oh, that's amazing.
And she just celebrated her 92nd birthday.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And she really struggled with being there. And I was supporting my cousins, and I was trying to support her and kind of have a little more open mind, because she was just dead. She had picked out which assisted living, and it wasn't a good fit. And so there were a lot of bumps in the process, but her well-being, her care, her needs came first, and to keep that in mind, and to also try to work as a team among the siblings, which is an entirely different podcast.
Oh. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother story.
And I think that the second piece is start early and get in conversations about making plans. You don't have to do it. You can keep a plan on a shelf. I mean, look at the number of strategic plans that are done for all kinds of organizations that are put on a shelf and nobody looks at them. Mm-hmm. I'm saying make a plan that's 2 to 3 years out. Allow the parents to go tour a couple of different places, as my aunt was able to do. And so when she moved, it was to where she wanted to move. It wasn't a good fit, and she got moved again. Yet she had the control of that and how important that process is. And to ask questions and to present options with 2 pieces. One is asking a lot of questions to make sure not just to know what the seniors want, but to understand why they want it that way.
Why? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To spend the time exploring what's going on behind it. And then educating, because sometimes it's folks, especially in their 80s and up, often see assisted living as being the home where people are going to sit in wheelchairs in the hallways and drool, and nobody's ever going to come and see them, and it smells like pee. So they want nothing to do with it. Where many assisted livings, and I was really treated on Sunday. We have a friend that lives locally that's a friend of my husband's and mine from DC. And she hosted us for brunch at her place, and spectacular dining room. It's like really fine dining. And
nice.
Many of them, and they cost more, and I understand that, really are like living in a gated community. It's like they say It's like living on a cruise ship, but you're on land all the time. And that they have more activities going on than a preschool. So you can choose from doing some watercolors, or you can be part of the puzzle group, or you can be part of the bunco group, or you could be whatever it is that you enjoy doing. There's gardening. You can take your pets. It really is. They work very hard to make it a community where people can live, not a facility where people are parked. But to educate so that when you can hear that, then you can say, can I take you? Can I take you over to see XYZ? And can we have that experience together? And then we can talk about what might be different than what you were expecting, so that we give them the opportunity to see it and experience it, and don't just say, but I know about this and you don't, because that's what that power struggle becomes.
Yeah.
Then, like I said, the other piece is to, if they really don't want to do something, then give them some other options. In David Solly's book, he talks about a mom and a son who are talking about the home she has in the Pacific Northwest, and how he thinks it's got stairs and it's got, it's run down, and it's getting to the point of not being safe. And then they go back and forth in this little power struggle thing. And then the son says, okay, Mom, if you're going to live here, what I want to do is to have estimates done for just the basic updates that need to be done to keep you safe here. And so I'm going to have some, contractors come, and I'll come with them, and we're going to get a package put together. And so we'll get a plan. And so, yeah, you can live here. This will be great. And then he came back to her with the cost of updating the house. Mm-hmm. And she said, this house isn't worth that amount of money. Let's talk about doing something else.
There you go. Yeah.
And so it gave her the information she needed to make her decision. One of I mentioned to you guys earlier that there was a study that came out today, and that's pretty much all over my Facebook feed. And it's in the American Geriatric Society Journal. And it talks about the reason that where seniors plan and try to make decisions about housing, 34% of the time they change their mind. And so it needs to be a fluid process.
Yeah.
Not let's make this plan and we will march to these orders to go to our destination. It's not like planning a vacation. Mm-hmm. It's about, what are the options? What are the things that are there? Let's take some time to explore. So the first part of the plan could be 6 months of exploring.
Mhm.
And, do you want to come and move with me to be with the kids in, Denver or Illinois? Nobody in their right mind would move to Illinois as a senior. Sorry, anybody that loves snow. This is the girl who'd moved to Texas. So it's, do you want to come up and see? Do you want to come and stay with us for a couple of weeks? Do you want to stay in a hotel and be around us for a couple of weeks? Let's just kind of see what it would look like. Because you may have the idea that I want you to come and babysit all the time, and I don't really want that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the idea that I want you getting out and meeting people, and you don't want a whole lot of that. And so let's see what happens when you're here for 2 weeks. That way you get to taste it out and talk about it. Okay, so you're going to stay in Dallas instead because snow shovels. And so how are you, where are you going to live? You've got a 2-story house, your knees are going out. So can we go out to open houses on a Sunday and just look at houses that are 1,800 square feet on one floor with a small yard in established neighborhoods and see what it feels like? Can we go explore that? Or can we go explore 2 or 3 of the, 55 plus active or independent living communities and look at the cost of buying a new house versus moving into one of them, so that we're doing this as an exploration. And then we begin to put a plan together. So, how the kids and the parents work together. While we can see things, I say we because I still think of myself in the situation with my dad, and I'm still 39, no matter what the calendar says,
Agreed.
Is that it's important to remember that executive thinking is not there with the parents, and to enter into their world, to listen to what they're hearing and seeing, and realizing if they're trying to keep control, you really need to spend some time loosening that up. One of the things that's important in the study that came out today is of the 4 reasons that people change their mind about the plan. I'm going to live in this house forever. And we said that when we moved down here. And I say, out the gurney, out the family room door, through the gate and into the driveway, right into the hearse. That's the plan. We both know that that's not going to happen. But we bought this house to stay here as long as we can. And we just made the move 3.5 years ago. So it was a senior move. Back to the study. The 4 reasons are their health or the health of a loved one changing. They're understanding their health limitations or something happening. Increased contemplation about what the options are. So they really do think about it. So the harder you push you make a decision today, you just don't get there. And then this influence of the social support network. Those are the reasons. The other is total denial. That they ever wanted to make a plan or just changing their mind. But if you think about what those 4 reasons are, and you can get the adult kids to understand this dynamic and the need for that flexibility, the need for it to be an iterative process, the need for it to be not a power struggle versus, yes, you can see around those corners that they can't see around right now. And also then we can talk about next what things we can do to help them stay where they are so they can do that safely until a plan is ready to be engaged.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So much information. So, I had a question, just only, again, I speak from my personal experience, right? With my mother. And I love the idea of having, kind of a plan to go up front. Like, what advice, this is the hard part for me, is like, how early, like at what point do you start making a plan, right? I know we can't pinpoint like, okay, at age, blah, 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 is when you need to start making that plan. I know with my mother, it kind of happened really fast because we didn't live in the same city. So we were seeing her on a regular basis and didn't realize the extent of the cognitive decline, right? So I feel like we had to make a really quick move and kind of make the decision for her because she really wasn't able and we didn't realize that. So do you have any advice for like, is there an age or at what point would the adult children kind of be talking about that?
If you begin to see things, I think that visiting often, the siblings talking to each other. I remember the conversation about when I was ready to take his keys and throw them in the river. And my brother, one brother talked about, actually, it was my sister talked about taking the battery out of the car or something. And my brothers were like, you can't do that to him. And I said, so when he runs over a child, because he'd already run over curbs and he'd already had some fender benders that thought he was keeping from us, you just kind of have to negotiate through the family system to say that acknowledging how hard it is. Shelley, I'm listening to you. This is a year after, and it's still difficult for you to have your mom not be your mom anymore.
Oh my goodness. Jessica knows, she heard all about it this morning. That is one of the hardest and most emotional things. She's not who she once was, right?
Right. And my father was his physical health and his strength and stamina, and he kept falling. Well, finally, we got my stepmother to agree that she couldn't care for him anymore. And that took his, falling so many. When my sister went to the fire department where the squad is, that's down the street from where my parents lived, and said to them, when we call the next time, because we kind of waited till he fell, when we call the next time, you are taking him to the hospital and we are admitting him, because you need to be there for 36 hours to have Medicare kick in and take the cost of going into a licensed nursing facility. And so we knew what that was. We talked to the doctors. Now she went and they said, thank God you guys are finally doing something. Because that's when we found out how many times the squad had been over there to pick him up because he'd fallen on walking to bed.
Oh, they didn't even know. Wow.
No, because they lived, it is a 1-story house and but it's a slippery floor. And they kept putting the rug back down.
Oh.
Anyway, I would roll it up when I was there. They would roll it back out when I left.
Oh.
And so, be talking to the people, be communicating carefully. And so once that started to happen, we knew that he was going in for long-term care. And we began to plan that, and we began to plan it with him. And the funny story that I love to tell is that I didn't live there. I just traveled there, and I traveled there often. And my stepmother would take respite trips she had maintained her home in San Francisco, and he didn't like to be there because he would be bored. So she would go by herself and get her head cleaned out, and I would come and stay with him. And it was when he went into long-term care. And so I was back in the DC area, and they had the admittance meeting to have him moved from rehab to long-term care. I called in, and so that I could be there and be another set of ears with my sister and my stepmother, the nursing staff and the administrator. And so they were talking to him about all the changes and that they were going to move him to the other wing, and that this was going to be a permanent thing, and that it was going to cost this much, and And then at the end, I said, Dad, we have thrown a lot of information at you. And I want to know if you have any questions, if there's something that was confusing or you didn't understand. And he said, when can I drive? And he was dead serious. So it really is a whole process to help the seniors understand. Even he was in and going to a place where he had a bed, 2 chairs, and a dresser, that he wasn't processing it. And I tell that story partly because it's cute and funny. It's my dad. I mean, we had the conversations before about, all of us conniving on how we were going to take the car away from him. Right. It also demonstrates the lack of understanding and really being able to settle into their brain all that's going on for them. So to be patient, to understand that where you see a 6, they see a 9, and both of them are real, and to move as slowly as you can to maintain safety and to guide them. And in the work I do now in coaching and training with especially agents that work with seniors, but also other small businesses, I talk about you're not the hero of your client's story. They are the hero of their story. We're in there to be a guide. Yeah. And it's the same with the kids, but you're dealing at that point with 40, 50, 60 years of family dynamics.
And that's a
And
hard
it's
shift,
easy.
Kathy. It's, me, like all of a sudden now, I'm the parent, the roles got reversed. And so you tend to hesitate because it's a parent that you are now caring for. And
Right.
that's a
You are
hard
a
shift.
caregiver. They remain the parent.
Oh, thank you for
part
that.
of having these strategies
I don't want to be
is to allow you to still have a mom and be a daughter and have the support to be able to do that differently.
Thank you.
I don't I was an alpha daughter, so I used to think I was in there to be I'm in charge of this crazy
I'm the
family
parent.
now.
I'm in charge. Yep.
Yeah, but we're not.
Thank you for that.
We are the primary. Oftentimes, your mother's cognition is different than other people's issues, and the cognitive impairment is a very different thing to have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So that you do have to make decisions for her, but you're making decisions for your mother.
Correct.
You're not becoming the parent.
I'm not becoming the parent. I don't know. For some reason, that just feels like a load has been lightened just by you saying that. So thank you for that. Yeah. Cause you're talking about this whole car story, and my mother, we were at a doctor's appointment yesterday, and she still is like, well, I need to go out and buy a car because then I can just take myself to places I need to go. You don't argue. You just say, yeah, that's a great idea, because 5 minutes later, she won't remember that. And it's sad to say it that way, but it's true. So there's no arguing, you don't have to say anything because you just keep saying yes, and it just is never going to happen. And it.
Right.
Yeah. And so with situations like that, I know with your mom, things had to move quicker because of, like you said, safety things. Sometimes you do have to, but when you have the time, and if you, can allow for, like you said, years, sometimes I've seen that, and it's amazing the difference in how that move goes, the excitement. I've worked with quite a few people where, yes, it has been 3 or 4 years from the first time they call and say, I think I'm going to make a move. But then you can see it. They're scared of that move. There's hesitation. Well, I don't know. Do I want to be closer to this kid, or should I find a place in between? And emotions, telling stories about the spouse they lost at that house. And you can tell it just doesn't feel right. And then as time goes by, I love when we get to the end and they're like, there's water aerobics at this place that I'm moving to. And I bought myself a bathing suit. I haven't had a bathing suit in decades. And they're like the excitement, and there is still some sadness, but that part is moved to the background. And there's so much excitement going into it. I love when we do see that transition where it's not as emotional. There's no tears when they move, because they've already gotten all that out over the years, and they're confident in that place that they're going to. It feels so good.
It's in their time. And the thing that happens, and let me tell you about a move that went really well. And I just found out the last chapter of this a couple months ago, is that I got a call on Thanksgiving from a really good friend of mine who was a better friend of a mutual friend than I was. It was one of her best friends. And that dad had fallen, broken his hip, and mom had dementia, and the other adult in the house was a special needs adult.
Oh my
no.
The sister.
Kathy.
And so did I have someone that could come in and do home care? And it was Thanksgiving. And I said, I'm going to give you 2 phone numbers. Both of these are people I would go with without hesitation. I'm giving you 2 because it's Thanksgiving. If they both answer, you can do which feels better to me. If only one of them calls you back, you're not going to lose. So they called and got the in-home care. The following fall, I get a call that they are ready. They were in a 55 plus community of patio homes, and it was time to move to a assisted living or a continuous care. And they were trying to decide between 2. So I came in to help them with the purchase because it was, instead of a buy-in, it was a condo that you bought as the independent living. And then there was assisted living, hospice, and memory care so that you could just be there the whole time. And so we got that done. We had to get a bridge loan because we wanted them to move before we sold. We got the house ready. They had a handyman. I worked with their handyman. We staged it. It looked great. It sold in a weekend. I also helped the special needs daughter, who was in her 40s, to get a Section 8 voucher in her county so that she could move and have affordable, because it was in one of the highest income counties in Virginia. And so she couldn't afford the apartments there without the vouchers. So I helped them do that. We moved them into the apartment, in the condo, sold the house, closed. I think it was the week of like March 20th of 2020. So there weren't many people.
Oh,
we were all doing
Wow.
everything with masks and only one person in a room.
yeah.
And got them moved in before COVID, praise God. And within a couple of months, mom had declined, moved into the assisted living and passed away. Dad was still in the independent living. You know, we did Christmas cards back and forth, and he would update me on what the grandkids were doing and all this stuff, because he was really close to the son and their two high school and college age kids. And so I just learned that he died, and that the home care company that had started taking care of them at Thanksgiving of 2018, they were the most people at the funeral and after the funeral, and telling all the stories with the family of taking care of them over those years. So that planned move was just a beautiful example, like similar to what Jessica was talking about the people that she's with, but of a whole lot of moving parts and a whole lot of change that went on over a 5-year period of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's amazing.
I mean, what do you think you've given a lot of advice to the adult children, but are there any biggest mistakes, like something that they should avoid doing? Obviously not causing any rush.
Ganging up on their parents.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because it's like they have a meeting and we know what to do. And here,
We've all voted.
We've all voted. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the most important one, is to always remember you're the guide in someone else's story, and that your parents, it's their life and it's their choices. Sometimes we disagree with it. To carefully think about whether what you're seeing is a lifestyle issue or a safety issue. And there's a fine line, and it grows. And I understand that. It's like me rolling up the hallway rug and them unrolling it.
Yeah.
It's yet they can make their own decisions, and they should be able to do that. The other piece is to make sure, in addition to having these conversations, which you don't have it just once. This is not about sit down, we're going to have the talk. This is about having these conversations and asking how they're doing and if they have plans. Have they seen an attorney? Do they have advanced medical directives? Do they have a will prepared and filed? Or do they have a trust, and has all that been set up correctly? Do they need to see a financial planner? Because if one of the spouses has died and the house has significant value, you could end up with some capital gains issues that you want to know about before you put the for sale sign in the front yard.
Right.
But it's just keeping those conversations and that planning process going, asking them if they have written down where the insurance policies are, all of the beneficiaries. Is there a way to know that information? I don't need to know it today, but when the time comes, Dad, what happens, and I want to be able to be there for you. And how can I do that? So it's giving the seniors as much decision-making choice time as possible. I think the other thing that Shelley said is really important, which is not getting into arguments, to understand that unless the person's really, really failing fast, that there is time and that you can come back to it. Because remember what it said, increased contemplation over a decision and influence of the social support network are things that help them change their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any suggestions on how seniors or their adult children can go about finding the right resources? They're planning this move. They know that they need a lot of people to help them organize and pack, to downsize. How do you find good people? Because you do need someone with patience that's not going to come in like a bulldozer and put pressure on them.
I would say that it's a little bit of self-promotion, but I would say find a local real estate agent that focuses and serves seniors and has the reputation in the community for doing that really well. And they can ask their financial planners and their attorneys about that. I would say, or there are placement specialists and senior care advocates in most communities. What I would say do not do is do not call Google. Do not call a place for mom. Do not look at a national network, because they do it. It's like, I joke that it's like Zillow for seniors. They send someone's name out to every place in the local area, so that when you do have a senior support system in place, they go to get the referral fee and it goes to somebody else because they've already pinned that person there. That's not an advocacy group. You want to stay local, and then you want to ask your neighbors, sisters, friends, church people who they know that has worked with seniors and done it at an exceptional level. They can call the Chamber of Commerce, because they know who we are if it's a local chamber.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Great idea.
Because they're getting to know them personally, because some people will promote themselves as working with seniors, or even like the SRES. It's our designation as real estate agents. Anyone can go and take that class, but it doesn't mean you actually have the patience to do it. So
it could just be a designation, but not, they haven't really used it, maybe.
Yes.
Right.
So,
and haven't done the additional,
you need the right personality.
Yeah. Personality and education. Haven't done the additional training and understanding of what it takes to, it isn't just being more patient and more thoughtful and having a heart for serving seniors, but to understand and have that network of care coordinators, placement people, downsizers, estate attorneys, and financial planners that you can, like I did with the family in Virginia, just refer on Thanksgiving afternoon without giving it one second thought.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Wow. This has been a wealth of knowledge as usual. And boy, I've learned too. Thank you for telling me I'm a caregiver and not a parent, Cathi, because that for some reason just really, really hit home. And I feel like it's kind of relieved some of my burden, because I feel like I was turning into the parent, and that is mortifying. Like I didn't want to carry that.
No, but it happens. It's a natural instinct, especially for a daughter and a daughter that's a mom. And
yes. So I wrote down and in quotes a lot of your little sayings here. I love it. It's like we're the guide in the story. I mean, that is super.
I heard that before. I have that on my website because I loved that quote. I don't remember what book that's from. Do you remember?
It's from Story Brand.
Story Brand. That's it. I was like, I loved it so much.
Right. I'm a Story Brand certified coach. So I've done that because it's the missing piece in so many places of small business development. So I just love it.
Because it's not about us. The sale of someone's home is not about me. Someone buying a home isn't about you. Right. This is about them. So
absolutely.
We're the minor character that advises. We're not the guide. We're not the main character.
Well, but the guide. But the guide is the one with the information, the experience, and the resources to be able to do that because they've done it before. Yes. And so the guide's actually the stronger character in the story.
Yes. I'm going to start using that. I really like that. It's like, I'm your mortgage guide.
Yes.
I love that. I love that.
Perfect.
Oh my goodness.
There's a cute, I don't think I've posted it on Facebook, but there's a cute picture that's a girl for International Women's Month last month that was a 10-year-old girl with this red-haired little girl with the sign that says, without Hermione, Harry would have died in the first book.
So true.
That's without the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion, Dorothy wouldn't have made it to Oz.
You're absolutely correct. I love that.
That's how life goes. So being the guide is just it's a treasure.
It is.
Love it. Love it. Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much. And we'll share your contact information, if that's all right, in our show notes. And on our socials. So we appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. This was amazing. And I have lots of notes too. And I wrote down that book because I want to get that book.
I know we should share that too.
Oh yeah. Put a link to the book.
Put the link to the book. It's really good. It's really good. Absolutely.
All right. Well, for our listeners, be sure to check us out on our socials, Nestology Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.
Well, thank you for joining us, where we help you make the best of your nest.
Bye.
Bye.